I was listening to Dr. Arikana Chombori, someone I respect so much, especially for a woman being in the space that she is fighting for Africa. And she mentioned something about the diaspora. And I mean, if anybody who knows about her, she is saying the diaspora must help, must come together and unite as Africans and build Africa. She touched on a few points that I would love to talk about, few interesting points that she said. The diasporans must stop being angry about the situation and at least do something, come together so that we can do something. They mustn't be angry only about the leadership. That we have to change the leadership. It's not the solution. But I would love to say one thing. It's not the solution, but it's one of the solutions. It is definitely one of the solutions. Changing the leadership in Africa might not be the solution, but it is one of them. It is definitely one of the solutions, the things that we need to do in order to change Africa, in order to develop Africa. It's not all of them, but some of the leadership in Africa. If you say Africans in the diaspora are angry, you don't want to know how we feel as those who are in Africa. The youths are angry. Those in the diaspora, they are probably a little bit better off because that's why we even talking about them, because they have a little bit of resources that we can put together and try to leverage and use. But those who are in Africa are even angrier because they cannot feed their children, because they cannot put food on the table, because they cannot have jobs. Those dreams cannot be realized in Africa. So the people in Africa are even angrier at this leadership that we are talking about. What Africa needs is not to keep complaining about the West, talking about aeroplanes and jets flying into DRC, taking all the minerals away while there's conflict and the rest of it. But at the end of the day, listen, we can complain all we want. We can blame the West for colonizing. We can blame the West for bringing weapons. But at the end of the day, those people are not going to change. Complaining about the West, complaining about all these shenanigans that they do, it's like uh, trying to take a donkey for a swim. They will never change. They benefit from this. Their economies depends on these things. Their countries depends on the resources. They need the minerals from the DRC Congo. So they're not gonna stop. They are never gonna change. In as much as we can complain and moan about it. Or what we need as Africans is to become like China, is to become like Russia, to be strong enough as Africa so that we can say whatever you come with, even if you put sanctions, we can complain about sanctions. But what we need is not complaining about sanctions because they're not going to stop. What we need is to become self dependent to the point that we become as strong as Russia, as strong as China, that even if they put any sanctions, you can say fuck you with your sanctions. You can, they will never affect us. They will have less impact on us. That's what we need. We don't, and that is a core upon leadership. It's not for the citizenry to be able to build Africa to that in that direction. We need the leadership. That's why we are saying yes, the leadership must change. Look, I mean, African countries are sovereign countries, countries that have security forces that are supposed to govern themselves, that are supposed to be in control of who comes into their country and do business and do whatsoever. We cannot complain about the West coming and stealing our minerals. There is leadership involved in this. The leadership of Africa is allowing, is being cowards. They are being bribed. They are being corrupt in selling our mineral resources to the outside world. Do you think if they didn't want this, if they didn't allow it, it will happen? It won't happen. The fact that it's happening is because we have a weak leadership. We have selfish leaders who care only about themselves and who care about enriching themselves, not trying to develop Africa, not trying to grow Africa and their country. Because even if we talk about uniting as Africans, coming together as a continent, it's the average person who is talking about this, that this is important for Africa to come together. If we were united and if we could come together as Africa, we can become a strong force that can be able to deal with the conflict in Congo. We can be able to deal with the conflict in Mozambique. We can be able to deal because our resources and our efforts will be put together, we can be able to deal with the conflict in Sudan. But the problem is our leaders, because they are benefiting, because they benefit from what they have. They want to keep the status quo. Please, as you are watching, please remember to subscribe, remember to share with your brothers and sisters. We need to grow Africa. We need to develop a mindset that will help us conquer the world.